Hey everybody, I'm Bob Bakert with Jazz Guitar today, and we are here with Dominic Miller. Hey Dominic.
Hey, how's it going?
It's well, as you know, we've had a little tech issues, so it's going fine. So you're out on the road, we know that, but that's really not why we're talking today. We're talking about your new project,
Oh yeah.
Vagabond. I mean, everybody knows your history. I mean, it's certainly there if anybody wants to Google you or look at all, you've been with Sting for 30 years, you've played, all that's available. We want to talk about what you're doing, your newest project, and how life is and all that kind of thing. So without going too far, I did listen. I was sent in advance on it, and I listened to it, and it's just stunning.
Oh really? Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah,
That's we're off to a good start.
it's stunning. Your control of dynamics on that nylon string guitar with your right hand is spectacular.
Oh man, wow. I'm like we're gonna get on well here.
Okay. I had read, so I don't want to come off as a phony, but I had read that you write instrumental songs. That's how you feel about it. That that you're writing actual songs. You're just not adding lyrics to them. And that's exactly the way that they come across. They're very emotional. They're very structured. Just beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. And the guys, I, man, I, you know, I was just totally taken by every one of the musicians, the other guys in the band, and I will pronounce their names all wrong. Is it
Yeah, Ziv Rabbits.
Ziv Rabbits and Jacob Carlson,
Yeah, Carson. Yeah,
and then Nicholas Fisman,
Fishman. Yeah,
Fishman. Okay, all right. Um, just spectacular. I mean, obviously the piano weaves, bobs and weaves with your guitar beautifully. But man, the drums,
yeah. He's
holy,
amazing.
holy shit. It's like what? Oh my God. And Sting used the term surprise that you
Yeah,
guys like to talk about. Man, everything is a surprise on that. Just all these little pieces of candy falling from the sky. So it's really nice. So that
but I
being said,
take a lot of inspiration from Sting. Like as a songwriter.
yeah.
Obviously, when you hang around with someone for so long, you kind of want to become them. Want to be, he's like my older brother. So I because of so many years working with him, I've taken a lot of inspiration with the way he constructs music and what are his principles. And a lot of it is down to is songwriting. Yeah, you're right. They are songs and song structure. So when I'm talking to my band and I'm working through a rehearsal, running through a tune, we talk in terms of verses and choruses and bridges and codas. It's that structure, which is quite strict, actually.
Oh,
Even though it sounds freeform and like we're all kind of improvising, which we are, the actual structure is strict of songwriting.
right.
Uh, and so, that's one thing I've taken from working with songwriters, particularly him, is how to construct songs and how to, embrace lateral thought. Like if something is off kilter, don't ignore it. Just see what's possible with this chord change. If it sounds wrong, it's what you played it. So what are the possibilities with it? Don't discard anything that's dissonant or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all these things that Sting is really into, dissonance, or like lateral thought. Oh, you look at his songwriting, the way, a song like Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, using a whole tone scale, against that kind of a melody, these type of things that those principles I've taken with me. And just to finish up, the other principle I've taken from him is to, as you rightly pointed out, is to surround yourself with really good musicians who have an incredibly good instinct.
Mm.
It's all about instinct with these guys, but of course they're well versed in many different genres and styles. But I need people with instinct, and one thing I've learned from Sting is the better you make them look, the better you look.
That's
So
exactly
Sting really gets that. He's a band leader who wants to be surrounded by musicians. he wants to make them shine. So by making them shine, he looks great. You know, that can be seen in when he had Kenny Copeland and Branford Marsalis and Omar Hakim. These guys all were shining, but Sting was the hero in the end out of all of that, by virtue of bringing musicians to their full potential.
Well, it's working for him.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is the band obviously is incredible. But the thing about the record, I want to stay focused on what you're doing. The melodies that you put together, where is that informed from? I know that you're a J.S. Bach guy, but what is that living in the south of France? And
no, it's a combination of my record collection and and just the elements around me. It's like I don't know where it comes from. I mean, it's really difficult to explain that. It just comes from staying still. I mean, most of the writing that I do actually comes from silence. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I like to think conceptually first. It's like, what do I want to say? Because we were talking about songwriting. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do I want to? It's not like an actual theme, like a love song but what feeling or what emotion do I want to get? So right. I might go for a walk and the first thing that comes to me is tempo. Is what kind of a tempo am I looking at? And then I'm really interested in this idea of color contrast, with chords. It's usually the harmony that comes before that the melody does mm-hmm. for me. Like songwriters usually come up with the backing track and then they do the lyrics and the melody. A lot of songwriters work like that. And so I don't know where it comes from, but I guess really it just comes from your record collection. And, because that's the only thing that's really original about me and about you and about all your listeners, is that the one thing that they can say that they are original about is their record collection, because nobody has the same record collection. I can guarantee you that. And that is your fingerprint and that's your DNA. And so my DNA is of course, it's Hendrix mixed with Egberto Gismonti mixed with Black Sabbath. And also I do listen to, a bit of country. So, but I'm not just listening to one style of music. I'm not just listening to jazz and I'm not just listening to reggae, but I have all these, my record collection is totally unique. So all these influences come into my writing process. They find their way in, but it's really, but at the end of the day, the tunes that you hear, they're not really original because they come from somewhere. But right. What is original is the source that they came from is a completely original source, because it's my collection of music that I listen to.
Man, that's a great answer. I love that. So you're playing a nylon string guitar. People know.
Yeah.
That. You're playing a nylon string guitar. And I know that you've talked about it a little bit in the past, but could you talk about what it is about the acoustic and the nylon string as opposed to electric playing and all of that?
Well, I suppose, the nylon string, I've always been drawn to that sound. I mean, partly because I was born and I was brought up in Argentina mm-hmm. and South America, where we were exposed to a lot of South American music, from Venezuela, from Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, and then, but not forgetting, and primarily, most importantly, is music of Brazil. And my guitar hero, as I was growing up, of course, other than Hendrix, was Baden Powell, a really great Brazilian guitar player who had that sort of folk, indigenous kind of Brazilian music, pre-bossa nova, and then he got in on the bossa nova movement, and then of course Antonio Carlos Jobim and all that. So nylon string guitar has always been like wow to me. This is the thing. This is what all I wanted to do, was be an acoustic guitarist with a nylon string guitar, because down there people don't play steel string guitar,
right?
Not really. And every house in South America has a nylon string guitar somewhere. So everybody, it's like it's part of life. You pick up and you play a samba. In Argentina, I could play sambas and bossa novas before I could play Neil Young or Van Morrison songs. So that was my starting point, was bossa nova and samba, the normal for me. So
That's
a
tremendous.
nylon string guitar is the go-to, and that's the type of rhythm, it's a syncopated rhythm, is just normal. A bossa nova style rhythm is a normal type of rhythm for me, growing up, and for everyone in Argentina. Your next door neighbor can play a samba with their right hand, you know, while they have a day job.
Yeah, right.
The same way that if you go to Chicago, you go to a blues bar and you hear a semi-professional guitarist who has a job playing the blues, you won't hear any more authentic blues than that. Probably in America, you know, that's what I like to listen to.
You know, that's what I hear in your playing. You know, I hear that Latin American, if you will, or, if I'm saying it wrong, you know, that South American sensitivity and sensibility
Yeah,
and all of that. And then
lyricism.
sorry.
There's a kind of there's a lyricism. It's like when you hear classical guitarists who come from South America, when they
Right,
play classical, it always kind of has a better feel. They dance with it. It's not rigid, like let's
right.
say a European musician, a classical guitarist might play it a bit more square, like John Williams, typically, who is
Right.
who I adore for
Yeah,
his technique. But it doesn't dance.
it's very regimented. It's
South
very
Americans dance with the music, and it's always got to have a groove. The groove is so important.
I'm hesitant to use the word clave, but you know,
The clave, yeah.
yeah, but that's kind of what it boils down to. And in so much of that is well, getting back to Sting for just a second, if you don't mind. I mean, so much of that is in his music as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's that's pretty amazing. Do you know? Does your nylon string? Because people will be interested in this. Does your nylon string have a flat fingerboard, or is it
Oh,
got
it's flat, flat.
it's
And
completely flat?
I use various ones. I've got like the Japanese ones that I use. Made in by Yairi.
Mm-hmm.
They're custom made for me. So they're kind of they're parlor size guitars. They're really
Right.
good. But I've also got a Spanish one, a Rodriguez from
Oh,
Cordoba, which is much more serious. It's much crispier and full bodied, but it's completely flat, and it's quite a big neck, quite a wide. You know, you've got to do some stretching on that one. You know, some finger yoga, but it is completely flat. Yeah.
and then when you move in, you're with ECM now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that. And are you well, I'm trying to get into your electric playing a little bit because you know you always talk about Hendrix, and I'm kind of curious about that and how that's informed by, you know, in other words, what, you know, what did Jimmy bring to who you are today that you still go, oh man, yeah, thank you, Jimmy, or whatever it is that you're, you know, how.
Well, what Jimmy brought to me, it's the same as kind of what Jeff Beck brought to me, is like is to make an electric guitar a supernatural kind of experience. It's an unbelievable sound and magic. It's almost like they're magicians, these people, and because they it goes right into my soul the way that they play. And you hear Jeff Beck playing one note on the guitar.
Oh,
It's kind of Joe Zawinul playing one note on a keyboard. It
yeah,
just goes right through me. And
yeah,
but I've never really tried to emulate what they do because basically, let's face it, I'll never be able to. And they've kind of got that covered. But the kind of electric guitar playing that I'm more interested in is accompanists. And you know, let's talk about people who are not guitar heroes. They are actually my guitar heroes. People like The Edge, Andy Summers,
yeah,
uh, Lindsey Buckingham, people who really know how to accompany a song and to
right.
complement a song. But anyone from the Eagles, you know, who I can never work out who's playing what in the Eagles, but whatever they're doing it right. Not to say that I'm a huge Eagles fan, but I'm fascinated by how well constructed the electric guitar parts are. So my approach to playing electric is primarily as an accompanist. I'm a colorist like Lindsey Buckingham was. I'm not a guitar hero. I never will be a guitar hero on the electric. Let's face it.
You're a musician. You're not a guitar player. I mean, you're a musician that plays the guitar.
Wow, that's a huge. You're saying the right thing, because I agree with you. You know, I haven't really invested all my years shredding in my bedroom. You know,
Right.
guitar is my way of the instrument I've chosen
Yeah.
to find a way into this beautiful realm that is music, and I've found an instrument that I can just about get my way around. You know, but really, I just want to hang out with musicians, and I learned how to play the guitar well enough to be able to do that. You know, and just to be able to kind of converse with other musicians, but not on the highest level. That's why I've got to be surrounded by people who are better than me. It's important. It's crucial.
I'm gonna challenge you a little bit on that. I'm gonna say what you do is at the highest level.
Oh man.
I mean, there ain't nobody that does what you do better than you. And you're
Well,
doing it, and you're doing it with the, in my, this is my opinion, but the best pop composer since the Beatles. You know, and his music is not, it's not an eagle, it's not a 4-chord song, it's not a 3-chord song. I mean, you know, his music is complex, all
yeah.
kinds of feels. It's demanding. He's well, I say the music is. I don't know Sting at all, so I don't know if he's demanding. But I'm saying, but the music certainly is. And there's nobody that does it better than you.
Well, I mean, thank you, man. But I mean, I feel that I've learned through that process of, like, I learned how to play electric guitar through his music. I
Right.
found voice, because I did the first album I did with Sting was Soul Cages. And when I did that album, it was just Manu Katché, Sting, and me, the three of us. Because Kenny Kirkland, let's face it, he hardly showed up in the studio. So it was just three of us. And the beautiful thing about that record was that all I had to go on was a melody
Right.
and a bass line. So I had two voices,
Right.
and with a root and a melody.
Right.
And there's so much ambiguity between those two. So I had free carte blanche to make something major or minor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm a
I
player.
found a way in
Right.
to express myself through his music, and that's been an ongoing process. Is like my musical education as an electric guitarist and as an accompanist has been through his music. And you're right, because he writes such interesting music, it really it offers a musician like myself so much opportunity to do something, you know,
Right.
and to be creative. You know, how do I complement this vocal? How do I complement this lyric?
Right.
You know, or what's happening with the drums? Does this need to be articulated? Can it be left out? What can be left out? So what would Miles do? You know, uh, there's always that question. What would Miles do right now? Well, he might shut the fuck up and not. You
What
know,
would Miles do?
cool.
I, I love that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what would Miles do? That's fucking, that's beautiful.
You know,
uh, well, you know, yeah, what would Miles do? But Miles would probably go, man, that Dominic Miller guy, we got to get him, you know, doing his thing. You know, I mean, I've interviewed, you know, all of his guitar players. I mean, you know, all of his electric guitar
oh
players,
yeah,
and they all have their impressions of his voice and his attitude and stuff like that, which I do not have. But what would Miles do? God, that's funny. I love that.
those guitarists you speak of, you know, and they're all amazing.
Yeah, they are. So, what I was going to say though is that there's a respect that goes on that stage. I mean, on Sting's stage, when I'm watching his band and all of that, there's a respect that goes on between all of the musicians, the vocalists, and everything, and which I, you know, is a tribute to him and tribute to you and all the musicians that play in that band. And here's where I'm going with it. I mean, it's so obvious. It's there's like, to me, there's that band, and this is my sensibilities, what I like to listen to. When it comes to pop music, that's what I like to listen to. Sting's my favorite pop artist, period, and has been for
Wow.
a long time. Jeff Beck's my favorite electric guitar player. At any rate, but that respect is going over into your record that I listened to this morning.
Huh.
Those guys with you. I mean, you first of all, you're respecting the melody. You're respecting all the things you're doing, and your music. It communicates with the listener. You know, you can hear what you're doing. You're singing, if you will. But man, the parts that those guys are playing.
Yeah, they're sick. I mean, that's you've got to give them the freedom to express themselves, you know.
Well, they certainly have. They certainly did. But they nailed it. I mean, that's, you know, the American
And I think
expression.
surprise, the element of surprise,
Yeah.
is like, that's another Sting thing. It's like, tell me something funny or something like something controversial, something that you shouldn't say. What do you not say in a conversation? You know, all these things are, you know, it's really amusing. It's kind of it's like comedy sometimes.
Right.
You know.
So let's talk about the new record a little bit more in detail, if you don't mind. Is that okay with you?
Go ahead.
It's called Vagabond.
Yeah.
And when's it coming out?
It's coming out the 21st of April.
And it's featuring Zib Ravitz, Jacob
Yeah.
Carlson, and Nicholas Fishman.
Yeah.
And yourself. Is there anything specific that you would like people to know about this project that I haven't asked you?
Oh, that's not really. Well, yeah, first of all, I mean, it was recorded in 2 days and mixed in 1 day. So really, it's kind of like I mean, we're living in an age where anything is possible in the studio, where you can manipulate anything to make it perfect. But the whole point of this label, actually, the reason why I'm happy to be in this house,
right,
is because we are not about that. We are about taking a photograph of exactly where you are right now, no manipulation. So I just want your viewers and listeners to know that there is no editing, there's no fixing. There's a couple of overdubs where I might add a second guitar just for effect.
Right.
But there is no. I mean, it's interesting because the producer, Manfred Eicher, if ever I make a mistake or I misarticulate a note, musicians are so precious about this stuff. Normally, what we would do is we wouldn't even hesitate. We would either go to the Pro Tools and nudge something into position. So time, okay, that's already a flaw by doing that. Or you might tune a note, or you might drop in, and if you misarticulated a note, you would play again. Okay, or cut and paste it from the previous verse or chorus. Fine. That's what we don't do that. So what we do is anything that's misarticulated or fucked up, producer Manfred Eicher, not only does he want to keep it, but he wants to feature it. Yeah, which is right. It's like, it's so humiliating.
No,
it's incredibly
listen, when I listen to music, I don't want to hear people's records. I want to see their videos where they're playing live.
Yeah.
I want to see what they really do. You know,
yeah, I mean, it's the truth. It's just telling the truth.
Yeah. I want to see how they really perform. You know, I don't have the experience that you have, but I have some experience and you know, snapping things to grid and all that, fixing this and fixing, you know, that's not music. I don't know what the hell that is, but it's not, to me, it's not music. I want to feel it organically. I want to know what exactly happened.
Because I do sessions and in pop sessions that I do, I think that's acceptable. When you're doing pop and rock sessions, you know, if something's more pop, it's acceptable to kind of make it much more rigid and organized. That's cool.
Right. I agree with you because it's not the style, the freeness, if you will, that we're talking about and all of that. That's part of what makes this an art. I mean, that's a big part of what makes what you're doing an art. Whereas when pop music, what's making it an art is that, you know, it seems like other things. And I don't know how to articulate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're listening to I don't know who your, you know, favorite pop people are, but if you're listening to that record and you go, oh, okay, that's cool. But if I'm listening to, let's say, a jazz record, or I'm listening to this, that, or the other thing, I want to hear what people play. I want, and this record, just for our listeners, this record's amazing. I mean, it is a conversation between four musicians. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is focused on the songs that you write.
That's great, man.
That's what
I'm happy that you see it that way.
Oh, I absolutely feel it that way. So, and then I learned something today that I was a little disappointed in. Hopefully you'll rectify that at some point, is that you're not coming to America with this band. You're starting April 17th in Germany. You're going to be there in Cologne. I don't know how to pronounce these names, but then you're going to Poland on the 20th, Warsaw. You're going to be in Bulgaria. You're going to be in Paris on the 14th of May. You're going to be in London on the 15th and 16th, and you're going to be in Rotterdam and Hamburg on the 17th and 18th, respectively. So for those, because we do have people, over in Europe that are, listeners and watchers and all that. So for all you people, man, go check this thing out live. Go to those shows, buy the record, go check those things out live, because I mean, I hope you do get an opportunity to bring it to the U.S.
We would love to.
Yeah, I hope
US it's a big country, I mean, the only way to kind of make an impression in America is, first of all, Americans want to see that you're here and that you're not going to do your thing in Europe and you're going to drop your record in America and expect to come here and have sellout shows everywhere. It doesn't work like that. Right. Americans want to see that you embrace the country and embrace the culture and be here. Just be here. And be seen to going in and out of radio stations and truck stops and cheap hotels. You know what I mean? Because that's the way to.
I've never heard somebody say that. I mean, that's really interesting.
Break America, and I just don't have time for it.
No.
Because I've been doing that in the rock and roll world. I did that for many, many years. And to forge a career in America, I want to do it right, and the only way to do it is either to live here, or just to be seen to be taking your country seriously. Who am I to come here and say, look, here's my shit, check me out, I need to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for like a month and get baseball and get into,
They call football soccer.
And just take it seriously. You know what I mean? I want to be wanted in America, but it's such a huge beast of a country.
Well, that is true, and it's all very different. I mean, it's almost it's very, very different. The culture of the West Coast, even though we speak the same language, is definitely different than the culture of the East Coast, as different than the culture of the Midwest and the culture of the South, and it is different. But I will tell you this, and let me put this in your head to at least ponder. With all the years that you've been in and out, in the U.S. doing things, I don't think anybody's going to think that you didn't pay your dues here in the U.S. I think people would love to see you.
Yeah, well,
and and the fact that you even made that statement is, that's very, very telling, and it's also, I think it even makes you more accessible and compelling, and as a human. And I think people would definitely, want to see that show. I really do.
Yeah, I'd love to do it, because I mean, I could always do one-offs. I could do one in Chicago, one in New York, and one in LA, or something like that. But that's not the point. I want to play in Kansas. I want to play in right. Idaho. I want to play in Arkansas. It's not all about LA, New York, and Chicago.
And there are huge music fans. I mean, that's people that's exactly, you're exactly right about that. That there are a lot, not some, there are hip people all over the U.S. that, it's not like only the cool people are in LA and only the intellectuals are in New York, and only, I mean, it's not like that at all. I mean, there are people everywhere.
For a while, I went to high school here. I mean, because my parents moved here for a while, so I know what America is, Americana, and I owe a lot to this country, but particularly with the music. But I mean, I know what the vibe is here more than most Europeans do. Right. And because I've lived it, and and so it's a great place to hang, and to meet people. But I don't feel that I qualified just to come here and just do like my tour and then fuck off back to Europe. I want to just be a part of the scene here. You like a lot of jazz musicians in America that really are part of the scene in America.
Right.
And of course, people come to their shows. People go to see Chris Bodie because he's become part of American culture.
Right.
You know, and he has been embraced by that world. So far away from that, mate. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, listen, man, I gotta tell you that's I've never heard anybody say that, and that's such an honorable way to feel about it. And there's so much integrity about that statement that you're making, and I really respect your point of view on that.
Yeah, I
I
want to
still
come. You know,
I
but
still want to I still want to hear the band play.
yeah, but we will. You
I
know,
know.
I'm going to do a one-off show at New York at the Blue Note. You know, and then go back to Amsterdam. You know, but you know, who knows? We'll see what happens. You know, the kind of venues that I would like to play in America are probably those kind of new university performance centers. You know, the word Ralph Towner might do a gig, or you know, like so. We're not talking about the jazz circuit. I might
No.
like to because I like working with students as well. So the best way to get me to America is probably to get me to work with students for a week in one university or one music college, and then I'll do a show with students. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that can
And
be done. I know we have a lot of a lot of our guys, if you will, a lot of our contributors are, run the programs all over the country.
yeah,
And that's something that I'll bring that up to some people, ask them about that, and I'll get an email to you that if I find
yeah,
anything that's interesting, I'll get an
because
email.
that's the circuit that interests me. Because then at least I'm offering something other than just my gig. You know what I mean?
No,
So I can become part of
yeah,
the fabric of
yeah,
American music.
yeah. If in another world we could hang,
Yeah.
I would enjoy your company. You know.
You've cheers, mate.
Seriously, I would. Because you're so full of integrity, and I just absolutely fucking love that. Be honest, I'm being very serious. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you too long. Is there something that you want to tell people, or is there something that is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, just just playing music is it's been very good to me, music, and for any musicians out there, I keep saying the same thing. It's like it doesn't matter how many times I try it, but there's nothing better than when you practice.
Yeah,
It's just practice slowly. You know, there's
you know,
it's
I, I
best thing that you can do is the yoga of music is just to play slowly and just get a good sound. Because if you can get a good sound slowly, the whole world will open up to you as a musician.
I a lot of people say that. You actually do it. I listened to the record this morning. I mean, your melody is so obvious. It's so there. It's so um I listen to this one. It's so melodic. And when it's supposed to be tender, it is. You can feel the emotion in your playing. And so that statement you just made is evidenced by the music that I listened to this morning.
Thanks, man.
I just want to thank you for coming on and talking to us. I really do. I mean, you're freaking Dominic Miller, man. Don't forget that. You are. I mean, you are. You're freaking Dominic Miller. You've influenced a lot of guys. You play your role in probably the number one pop band touring today for the last umpteen 9 million years, with probably the number one artist. I can't imagine anybody sitting in that chair doing it better than you do it. I mean, I just can't even imagine. And
It's a privilege to be able to do it, man, for 33 years, actually.
yeah, and I understand why you're still there. I get it.
Right.
Unbelievable. Well, listen, thanks a lot. I'm going to encourage people to go out and get Vagabond, or actually in the old days you go to the record store and get Vagabond, but get a copy of Vagabond, listen to it, enjoy it. You can dive into it as deeply as you want to. You can sit there with the phones and listen to every little thing, or you can just put it on.
Yeah.
Let it do its yoga zen thing to you.
Yeah.
You can do that. So I'm Bob Bakert for Jazz Guitar Today, here with Dominic Miller. Man, Thank you so much.
Hey, Bob, thanks a lot, mate.
Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, we'll go and hang out.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, Dominic.
All
Have
the
a great
best.
show tonight, by the way.
Oh, cheers.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
See you later.